What's up, everyone? How you guys and gals doing? It is the first episode of the Beat Can podcast, baby. We have a hell of a lineup today. We got Danny D'Lo.
What up?
It, baby. And we got Mike Ball. What's up, Mikey?
What's going on,
And we got
everybody?
China
Chilling.
Dow. We got an awesome crew here today, man. We got a lot of different opinions on what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about the Trump indictment and how it's an American in crisis right now. And later on, we're all going to share our stories of anxiety, depression. We all go through it. Very serious subject. So we got Danny D'Lo again. He has his own YouTube channel, so check it out. And Mike Ball, thanks for joining us for the first episode. Let's go to Danny D'Lo real quick and give us your opinion on what's going on out there with Trump.
You know what? First of all, let's be honest. Trump's not going to jail. Rich people like that don't go to jail. I think it's all a farce, personally. It's just to try to ruin his credibility to run. Like him or not, I'm not a political person. I don't care about sides. I don't care what side you think is better. And personally, I think if you think any side is better, you're the problem. I don't think anything's really going to happen, Robert. I really don't. I think that he's going to go through some BS, but he's going to come out clean. And he's going to run for president and probably win because of this. They think that this is going to ruin his credibility, but all in all, I think it's going to push him to run and it's going to push him to win. That's just my personal thought.
Do you agree with that, Mike, that this is politically motivated?
Well, of course, I think everything's politically motivated, but the one thing that Danny had said was, well, he's not going to go to jail because he's, a millionaire, billionaire, whatever. He's got money. Here's the thing is, we just had an Andrew Tate situation, though that's Romania and that's not here in America. Anything is possible at this point, and I'm not putting the government past anything at this point. They're going to push as hard as they can to make somebody, which is obviously Trump, make them look terrible. But obviously, it's just it's gonna kick right back on into their face, and this is typical. It's going to be the typical thing where he gets out and everything is, they're just grasping at straws at this point. They just need something to get him on because they couldn't get him on this, couldn't get him on this. Now we finally have, these 38 counts or whatever the counts are. It's like, okay, from how long ago and what are we talking about here for what? Okay, so none of this is relevant to any of us today,
China Dow.
What?
Do you, as a mother and a grandmother, really care about what he did or didn't do? Would you rather our politicians actually work for us and help bring down the food prices or the gas prices? What's important to you?
I want somebody to stand up for us as real people. Come on. Grocery shopping is a nightmare. I got 4 bags of groceries today for like $90.
Yeah.
And I barely got anything. Mm-hmm. Gas prices, by I don't know how everybody else is, but by us, the closest where I work, $3.69 a gallon. What happened to the good old days when you can fill your tank on $10?
Man, Southern California is about $4.70, and that's low for us right now.
Yeah.
But it's like we need somebody that's going to be in office and is going to stand up. I don't care, Democrat, Republican, I don't care. But stand up for the people in this country. Get it to where we can actually survive and not keep living paycheck to paycheck.
And Danny, I think Danny, and I don't know if everybody agree with me on that. One of the main reasons they're after him is because the policies he put in place, he was working for us. He wasn't working for the rich. Take it from there.
I agree. And one thing I want to point out is Mike said something about Andrew Tate. I think what people need to realize is there's a huge difference between wealth and rich. Andrew Tate, he's just rich, and that's nothing to people that are wealthy. Andrew Tate is kind of a victim of his own circumstances, really. You know, he
That's
started
true.
doing social media and started doing his thing, and he's done an awesome job. He's gotten huge. He got, you know, world renowned. He got famous. He got rich. But that's the difference between rich and wealthy. Wealthy is Donald Trump. Donald Trump will not go to prison and will not face really much of anything, if he even faces anything at all, because he's wealthy. Andrew Tate, he may go to prison because he's just rich. There's
No,
a
that makes
huge,
sense.
yeah,
That makes
there's a
sense
huge difference.
that he's, you know, especially Trump has a lot of political backing,
Yeah,
you know, and Andrew Tate does not have that kind of political
no,
backing. Sure, he's got
no,
some, but he doesn't have necessarily what Trump obviously has.
right.
You know what I mean? So he's not going to have that kind of pull. So you are right. And also, this is in America. This is a
Hmm.
whole different system than it is
Yeah,
over there, where they can just do whatever they want with you, you know?
exactly.
I think they've been coming after him ever since he won in 2016 because they beat the establishment's girl, Hillary Clinton.
Yep.
And one thing, and Danny, you know this, if you live in Chicago, we know what it's about. You have a Democratic machine here and corrupt to the bone because when you go to bed and see the election that Trump is winning, and then they'll wake up in the morning, oh, all of a sudden they're finding this and that. First thing I said was that's a Chicago rope-a-dope.
Right.
And it's all about power and not actually about caring about us. It's about filling their pockets. And that's not what the founders originally wanted for this country. They would go serve and go back home. Now it's all about careers and stuff like that. And you work in an interesting position, China.
Why?
You get to hear all kinds of viewpoints.
I do. I hear them all.
I sure bet.
I hear the good, the bad, and the ugly.
How bad
You hear both sides of the wing, you know? So I get it.
how bad do you think this country is divided right now? And then we'll go to Danny and Mike.
Well, just by hearing what everybody talks about when they come into my work, I hate to say it, but I'm hearing a lot of Trump supporters. It's pretty Republican right around here, like pretty Republican. But then you got some people going, well, I can't believe he did what he did. I go, did you care with what Clinton did?
Well, that's
I mean, come on.
That's a good point because
Yep.
they're going after Trump for $130,000 payoff on a porn star when Bill Clinton played Paula Jones $850,000.
Well, come on. He had
before
Monica.
Monica or not, but do you think?
She got popular off of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mike? Do you think that this country is getting really bad right now, divided?
Yeah, no, I feel like we're getting to a point where it's almost like World War III. You know, it's like I can feel it, and I don't want to say anything like that and predict and say, and I don't want any of that. Of course, none of us want that. But the thing is
that the Michelle I know?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's,
Go ahead,
that's
Mike.
our buddy Michelle.
Oh, go
I
ahead.
just
Mike.
really believe that at this point we're too separated. Like we used to like kind of be in the same, you know, area, and we all understood we're supposed to be like the reference I made earlier is we're supposed to be two sides of the bird or whatever it is. We're trying to Republican and the Democrat side, you know, we're just trying to, you know, we essentially want the same things, but the way they do it and the way they go about it is different than each other's. So it's gotten worse with politics, but now with social media becoming more and more prevalent in our day and age, and such as the Andrew Tate stuff, such as all of these things that are happening politically, people are sitting back going, okay, this is not okay. This is not okay. And people are, you know, going each to their corners. You know, that's how it looks to me at the moment.
Hey, Danny, I want you to, for those that don't understand, tell them about Chicago politics, how the segregation is in the city, and how bad it really does get.
Yeah, it gets really, really bad. And you know, we talked about it the other day a little bit on the Madhouse show that you guys do, the Morning Madhouse show. Um, you know, you have the, for politically correct reasons, we'll call it the urban community, and they have always voted Democrat, and I've never understood why, because the Democrat Party is literally always lied to them, never done anything for the community, never done anything for really anybody, you know, in that particular area. And but they've just voted for it for years and years and years, family upon family, generation upon generation. And I've always kind of wondered why, you know. And now, you know, the biggest problem is we have a government who says Republican is the best, and then you have Democrats is the best, and it's like they both suck. They're neither one of them. It's never. It should have never been about a party. It's supposed to be about America. It's supposed to be about us, about our country. But they've made it to where it's about what party you come from, and all it is, you know, the Democrats are fighting to get in power so that they can get all the money that they can extort out of whatever they can. Same with the Republican Party, same thing. They want to get in office and get in power so that they can get their payoffs. I mean, come on, man. We got congressmen. What do they get paid? Like 100, 200 grand a year? But their net worth is like 2 or 3 million, 2 or 3 billion. How is that? How is that? If I get a job at Walmart today, I'm not going to be a billionaire 2 years from now. You know what I'm saying? Like, how can you even justify that? It's so plain and clear that everybody's getting paid off, and everybody just wants to be a politician so that they can get this kind of money and extort that kind of money or whatever they do to get it, lie, cheat, and steal. That's always been the biggest problem, you know. And Chicago and any inner city, you know, where you have a majority of the race is brown or black or whatever you want to call it, you know, they vote for that party, and the Democrat Party will always direct their votes towards those people, you know, promise them the world. But every time they promise them the world, as soon as they get in office, it all goes away. We've seen it for how many years now? We have watched it. We have seen it. And it's sad because you watch these people in the quote unquote urban communities that they they don't see it. It's like, how do you not? They don't think for themselves. It feels like, you know. So because of all of that going on, and because you got this party, that party, and everybody thinks they're right and they're wrong, because of all of that, it creates that division. Because, you know, now, you know, I used to hang out with this guy who was of color of some sort or whatever race, and I hang out with him, and now we're starting to side at each other because he's for that party and I'm for this party, and you know, or whatever, vice versa. You know, that's what's mainly creating all the division. You know, all this racial division where riots are going on because, you know, some guy ran from the cops and got shot. Like, I'm not saying that if somebody runs from the police, they deserve to get shot, but let's keep it freaking 100 right here, okay? Half of the people, if not more, that have been shot deserved every single bit of it. You know, I've never ran from the cops but one time. The first time I ran from the cops, I got beat up and by the police, and then I went to jail. I learned real quick, don't run from the police because I'm going to go to jail beat up and tired. You know, I mean, all of it, it's such a big picture that works in little puzzle pieces to create this division. We don't have enough time or energy to even talk about it, you know?
Well, you're right. And when you brought up political parties, our first president, George Washington, he was adamantly against political parties because he knew it would divide the country, especially
Exactly.
most. But what kind of feelings do you get, China?
With
The general mood of people. Is it more frightening for our kids now? Is it more frightening for grandkids to be out there with these type of attitudes?
I'd honestly hate to see where this country's going to be in 20 years, to be honest with you. Seeing that our kids with the education that they're getting, I mean, come on, they went like almost 2 years online education, and they're going to be running this country.
And that goes, Mike, right there, Mike. Do you think they're being inundated with a bunch of propaganda towards, say, the Democratic Party, like everybody on the right says?
Yeah, I mean, we know that their agenda is I would say on both sides, propaganda is unfortunate. You know, that's to me, propaganda is just drama. You know what I mean? It's just drama about what that guy's got to say or what that guy. How about you talk about what you're going to do good for the country rather than point at that guy and say he's doing it worse. So there's two ways to make a building. To the tallest building in the world, you know, that you can try to build. It's either you build that building or you tear everyone else's around you down, you know? And so that's kind of what they've gotten to, you know, is I think they definitely, and like you said, the parties have definitely divided this country very easily.
What were you going to say, China?
That they need to quit going back and forth and pointing out each other's flaws.
Mm-hmm.
And worry more about, I guess you could say, walking the walk and talking the talk. If you're going to talk the talk, you better walk it. And if you're going to promise something to people, the American public, then you better come through with it. Stop trying to get in the White House or in a governmental position with all your lies and back up what you say.
Well, what John just said, neither party will allow independent ideals or individual thoughts. What do you think about that going around the table, Danny?
I'm sorry, repeat that.
It said basically they don't want people to have independence or independent thoughts.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. I mean, kind of case in point, look at Andrew Tate. That's a prime example of that very statement. You know, he's came onto the YouTube channels and Instagram and all different platforms all over the place across the world, and he expressed his opinion on what he thinks. Now, whether I agree with all of it or not, that's relevant. But you know, that's what he did, and now look at him. He's in all kinds of bad shape. You know, and that's exactly what it is, you know, the government has never wanted independent thinkers. You know, that's why we have politics that are involved in our educational system. I mean, you would think, why would that be? Well, it's real simple. They're training our young to think and go with exactly what they're trying to push. Half of the history of our country is deleted and gone. You know, the Native American history, I'm part Native. The Native history, it's dead and gone. They don't even talk about it, really, you know? So, and I mean, you know, and now there's just no history there. So, I mean, nobody has a reason to think for themselves. They just, okay, well, they said that's the way it is, so let's go do it, you know? And that's the biggest problem, I think. You know, they're teaching us to be okay with it.
I think Danny hit it nailed on right there, Mike, where they got robots happening now. They don't. It's just like the news. People, they'll go to their corners, like the leftists go to CNN or MSNBC. The conservatives go to Fox. Nobody likes hearing down the middle anymore. They don't like hearing just the facts. We don't want your opinion.
No.
Well, if we look at, you know, this whole individualistic idea thing, you know, people are saying, you know, individual. The thing is that's never going to happen. Unfortunately, at least in our lifetime, I don't see it. The reason being is let's look at everything. Let's look at MC Life. MC Life is really not built for an individual. let's also talk about like those gang lives. Those are not built for individual thinking. It's different. Every society, it's like it's an organization, and it runs differently everywhere, including politics, and that they're going to purposely keep the party separated, and they're purposely going to make sure that they get as radical as possible. That's it. And the more they can do that, the more that the government has control on the people, because we're just fighting each other at this point, and they're not focused on the bills and all the stuff they're passing up top.
Well, you know what? I agree, China, now about the early propaganda and promoting that stuff, because we actually went through a situation with our daughter where she was normal as normal can be, and then she went to college. How did that 360 affect you?
I've seen so much of that.
College totally changed who she was as a person.
She won't even talk to me.
No, because it's always a political debate. Because our daughter's Democrat, and or whatever. Let's just say I don't know if she's Democrat or Republican, but she voted for Biden. So pamperhead, whatever. But she totally changed. It's like you can't even have a conversation with her that has to do with politics, because if you show her the facts, she gets pissed and hangs up. She don't care. It's her side or nothing. And I think a lot of people are like that. They're my side or nothing. Me, I'll listen to both sides. I might agree with something that somebody says, and I might agree with this one. I might not agree with you, but I like hearing both sides. Because
everyone's too set in stone in how they think, and they're not willing to actually think outside the box. That's the thing. They're not willing to hear both sides.
I was never into politics until the Biden and Trump and all that. I never was into politics, but I did and listened to both sides of the story. Everybody's promising this. Everybody's promising this. Who's going to actually come through with their promises? I mean, I was reading an article yesterday that by 2034, we might not even have Social Security because of all the crap that's going on. I mean, come on, get their shit together.
Well, Mike, ain't that? I think what you said is correct. Where you try to put out facts to people, and they get so upset with you because they can't come back and debate it, that it does ruin a lot of relationships between people. And I know that's happened the last, 8 years or so.
At least for sure. People have taken it to so much to the extreme that it's let them ruin families, and those aren't usually, let's say, like our side of it's usually their decision to do. They separate themselves. They're the ones that draw the line in the sand. We're going, hey, we're willing to listen to you, but just don't fight us on everything we say. I don't know. I feel for that. I feel for that situation. That was believe it or not, my father was that was his biggest worry about me attending college. If I did, was about how they are, you know what I mean? Like how it's become a liberal ideology 100%, and nobody is allowed to be a conservative anymore. That's not okay in our school systems anymore, and that should be frowned upon in itself, that you should be able to be both, whichever one you want. If there's going to be a party and you're going to talk about it in school and whatnot, you should be able to identify as either without any type of shame. You know what I mean? But people, like you said, they get in their feelings. They don't think logically and go, you know what? You're right. That sounds like a better plan than what this guy was saying. People don't think that way. They're just so set in stone. Like, hey, no, this is the way it is. It's not going to change. This is how it is. And unfortunately, I think people are just too clammed up that way. I think people need to really actually widen their freaking perspectives here. I think they need to widen up a little bit.
I think case in point is your daughter, as your guys' daughter. That's case in point to what I was saying, is political BS is being pushed so hard into our educational system that we have people like her now, unfortunately, that they don't look into facts. They don't even believe in facts anymore. It's about what they were told to follow,
Well,
you
that's
know,
like,
and they have no open mind. Like they don't know how to be a free thinker because they're being trained to not be a free thinker. It's sad.
well, that's like her big thing right now when Biden was making all those promises about repaying student loans for students. She's still got
Uh,
gung ho that it's going to happen for her, and it's not.
Not.
So I
yeah,
mean, that she's still
uh,
begging for that to happen and saying, "Well, it's going to happen." I'm like, no, it's not, hon.
Definitely
It's,
not happening.
no, it's definitely not.
it's not. You're going to still owe that 7 years of college, darling. Just
Uh-huh.
give it up.
And you're
I
going to
wanna-
pay that till you're about
Nothing's
70.
free. Nothing's free, you know, especially college, man.
I want to say thanks to LA for that donation. Everybody else who's donated. Danny, there was a recent poll about what the importance of patriotism and religion plays in America nowadays. And it used to be super high. Now only 35% of Americans believe religion and patriotism actually plays a role in daily life. What do you think about that? I think it's a catastrophe.
Yeah, you know, for me, there's different levels of patriotism. You know, you have people that are true patriots, and then you have people that call themselves patriots, but their line is a little different. For me personally, I don't know if people are gonna like it or not. Well, for me personally, religion I think has always been a big problem in our country. Our country isn't based off of religion. It's just not. You know, it's based off of this being a country. You know, religion was brought in later. You know, so I think it kind of more or less creates more of a problem when you put religion into things because it goes. It's the same idea with politics. You know, Democrats are better than Republicans better than Democrat, right? Well, now you do that with religion. Well, my God's better than your God. I'm Catholic. Well, I'm Christian. You're wrong. Well, I'm Jehovah's Witness. You're all wrong. Well, I'm Muslim. Everybody's wrong, and you're racist if you think I'm not. Like it just it's all this stuff to me just creates division in one way or another.
It's just another division
think-
tactic.
Yeah, what I think personally, I think when social media came about and started making people believe that we were all interested in what's really on your mind, like what Facebook will say, what's on your mind, I think people took that to the heart. And when people started sharing their political views and their religion and stuff like that, when people started sharing that publicly is where our country went downhill, because we were fine before. You'd be Catholic, I'd be Christian. Neither one of us really knew about it, and neither one of us cared because we were just men. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
a big point.
But then you go on Facebook and you go, hey, wait a minute, Hollywood's a Catholic. I don't know if I like that. Well, and then Hollywood goes on and goes, oh, well, Mike Ball, he's Muslim. Oh, well, Danny D'Lo, he's Christian. Oh, I don't know if I like this. And everybody started talking about their political view. Remember back in the day, Hollywood? I mean, I can remember, and I'm only 43. I can remember back in the day when we're kids, nobody knew whose political views. Nobody knew who was voting for who. It was
Nope.
such a private thing.
Yeah, I
And
was
we've
about to
seen
say it
so
was
many
private.
comedians. Yeah, we've seen so many comedians talk about, yeah, man, hey, don't ask me about who I'm voting for. That's private. But anyway, I was doing this to my wife the other night.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, that's always
Exactly.
been a standing joke with certain comedians, and it's a fact, man. Somebody
Yeah.
would tell you what they did sexually with their wife last night before they would ever tell you what political views they had, who they were voting for, or any of that, what religion they were. Nobody knew any of that, and it was way better. Now we have social media. Everybody thinks they got a voice. Everybody thinks their opinion matters, and then we get political about it, and here we are, and it's just going to get worse.
I agree 100%. LA said, China, separation of church and state. Most politicians run on a religious agenda. It's crazy. And that is separation of church and state. You're not supposed to be blurring in your religion into your politics.
Yeah.
That was one of the biggest rules that we had if we went into a bar or something here in Chicago.
Well, even as a hairdresser, when I was standing behind the chair cutting hair for like 28 years, the biggest thing that we always told the newcomers that were coming in fresh from beauty school is never talk politics or religion with a customer. That's the same as a bartender. A bartender is going to tell you, do not ever, ever, ever talk politics or religion.
Yeah. But I worked security at a bar. That was the same thing. I would hear people talking about it, and I'd walk up to the bar and be like, hey, no politic talk. Well, no, we don't care about that here. Have your drink, have a good time, tell some jokes, and leave. You start talking about politics, I'm going to have to throw you both out.
Exactly.
Because you already know it's going to turn into a fight.
Definitely not like that here in California, man. They love to just sit here and just chat it up, man. You can go to a bar and sit there and chat it all up.
Mike, I always say that you live in the communist state of California.
Look at him. He's like, yo.
I know.
Unfortunately,
by two cities.
Am I right in that assumption because of your gun rights are really not there? Your high prices are out there. You got a thing where they want to pay restitution to black descendants, I guess. I don't know how it's working, but a buddy of mine, I was talking to him before I came on the show. This country is in over $33 trillion in debt. And that equates to about $90,000 per American. We're in debt and don't even know it. So where are their priorities? Why would they come up with this kind of stuff in California where they think that they have all this kind of money to pay for these ridiculous type of ideas?
Well, California itself brings in a lot just within the Southern California area. We receive a lot of basically all of China's goods. If you think about it, comes through the LA Long Beach Harbor, and then it rails all the way out to the rest of the country, basically. And so we do have a good economic space in that aspect. And California has a good, grasp on that. But when it comes to everything else and the way they spend it politically and all of that, that's all off the rails. Like the way they spend it is dictated by Los Angeles and San Francisco. And this is what I've said in your guys' morning show before, is that there's probably more cowboys in California than there is in most states of the United States. But people don't know it. They just think LA, San Francisco, and that's all of California. No, there's millions and millions and millions of us here in California that, and the gun laws, like you brought up, like they're only hurting the law-abiding citizen. Every time they update something, oh, you can't have this stock. Oh, you can't have this pistol grip. You can't have this on your AR. You can't. So every time I'm the one, so you're telling me a criminal is going to go out and change out his pistol grip to a, you know what I mean? An actual buttstock, is he going to do that? No, but the legal guy will do it. Right. But that's, it only hurts the legal guy. It never hurts the actual person that needs to be, put in trouble. They are in trouble for it. They don't get very much time for it. Let's just be honest. California, you walk in, you walk out. You know what I mean? It is pretty much that system unless you really do something up the wall.
Wow. Well, we could all truly agree that this country is in a major crisis right now. And if we don't start coming together as a people, because most people are not far left and far right. They're right down the middle in the political spectrum. But if we keep letting these politicians divide us, we're in some really bad trouble right there. And it's showing right now. But to move on to our other topic that we was telling everybody about, and I wanted to go around and ask everybody about their personal experience with anxiety and depression. It's an experience that every one of us has went through, if you want to admit it or not. And when other people hear about it, they're actually able to relate because they have the same problem. Let's start with the China doll, then we'll go. Okay, I'll go with Danny if you want me to go with Danny.
Yeah, go Danny.
Danny, let's go. You're up.
All right.
And a lot
Well-
of bikers need to hear this. I know we're mainstream, but bikers, you know what? I know a lot of them. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, that's why I've done I think 2 videos so far on my channel about this. One thing I want to point out to those who are listening that deal with depression and anxiety mainly is you have to psychoanalysis yourself, kind of, for lack of better terms. And in order to figure it out, you got to get down to the root of the problem. What caused you? Like, when did you notice that you were having these issues? For me, back in 2021, I was facing life in prison, and my father was dying of pancreatic cancer. And as I sat every night on my dad's deathbed, sat at his side every night, all night long, talking to him about life and just trying to cram in all the talks we could, because we knew that time was coming. That's when my stuff started, like shortly after that. Then I ended up going to prison for a short time, thankfully. And when I came back home, it was just all of that, all of that balled up into one created that anxiety really bad. And I started having panic attacks that were just something fierce. Like, I thought I was having a heart attack every couple of minutes, and I was just in fight or flight mode every day, all day long. Nauseous, couldn't eat. I mean, I was in really bad shape because I didn't know what was going on. Now, throughout the years, I've learned that the more I talk about that, once I realized that's when it started, then I said, okay, when that started, it was because of these reasons, because of facing time in prison and going to jail, my father dying, leaving my family when they needed me most, coming home and having, I'm fresh out the joint. And anybody who's been to prison, I don't care if it's 6 months or 60 years, it's still prison. And when you come home, you still have a different mindset when you come home. So you got to kind of acclimate to society again a little bit mentally, and fresh out the joint, I get out of a limo in front of my mom's house on Armitage Avenue in Chicago on the west side. I get out the limo and my mom's just crying, you know what I'm saying? Happy to see her baby boy, but all of them emotions came out, I missed 6 months of being around my family, well, a year of being around my family when they really needed me the most. So that's what created it all. And yeah, I've dealt with anxiety really bad for a long time. I have PTSD from situations I've been in my life, with the gang life and stuff like that, living on the streets and doing crazy things, and all of that ends up turning into depression as well, and it's rough, but just got to get through it.
Mike.
The best way I can put this is depression, you're focused too much on the past, and anxiety, you're too focused on the future. And obviously the anxiety and panic is a different type of rush. It's an anxiety, this amount of adrenaline that just goes through our body that is, you can't contain it sometimes. It can be debilitating at times. And I suffered with it for many of years previous to my accident. I was in a very hardcore industry where I was moving billions of dollars worth of cargo, and all of it was under my name. And if I messed up for any part of any negligence, minimum is 15 years in prison. So I was very, very heavily watched, like a hawk for a decade. And because of that, that kind of gave me that PTSD, in the sense of like, I'm always, I don't know. It's a very weird thing. Like, I was by myself for 21 days out at sea. You know what I mean? Like, you would be completely isolated. No, like basically like being in the hole. You know what I mean? In prison, when you're in the hole, you're sitting there. That's you. You got 4 blocks. That's it. That's basically how I felt for 21 days at a time, and I did that for 10 years. So it was weird. Once I, went through all of that, I also then went through my accident. Now, this is where the story gets weird with me. As I go through the accident, I obviously lose my leg, my shoulder, all of that. And I come home and my anxiety is nearly nothing. Like at all. No anxiety, no panic. And really what I'll tell you what that boils down to is me understanding right then and there when I went through probably the most hardcore moment of my life. Right then and there, I realized what was and was not important to worry about. I realized I was worrying and struggling over these things and literally being like, I remember being huddled up in the bathroom sometimes, just like, dude, I can't even move. I can't even move right now. Like, I just need to be left alone. Nobody can talk to me. Like, nothing's going to make me feel better. I also do believe that if you are in a depressed state, it's telling you something. Like, okay, I need to fix something within myself or fix whatever issue that is making you feel this way. Okay, so let's not just mask the issue with Xanax and SSDIs or SSRIs or whatever they call them. You know what I mean? We don't want to mask the problem. We want to get down to the root problem, but nobody wants to deal with the issue. You know what I mean? So everyone's just would rather mask everything rather than dealing with the actual issue. And then that would actually move our depression down. But people don't want to talk about the real issues they have in their life. They don't want to come to terms. And quite honestly, not a lot of people are very truthful to themselves about a lot of things.
Is that easier said than done, though?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's going to be easier said than done, but it's something that I don't know. This is 2 years now after the accident, right? And I still to this day, yes, do struggle with anxiety. Not like how I was before, where I was debilitated and stuff like that, where I'd have those moments. But I will have it occasionally, but it's situational now. It's situational anxiety. And that's something that no matter what anxiety you're going through, you have to recognize it. And it's almost like you have to talk yourself down. Like, all right, you have to recognize, okay, yeah, I'm going through anxiety right now. I feel it right now.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever you got to do, like for me, sometimes I'd be in a room full of people and go, hey guys, I got to separate. I got to go into my room. I'm going to go chill out. You know what I mean? And I'll go sit there and lay down, watch a movie or something, maybe a nap or whatever. And that will help me, it's distracting. Whatever my thoughts are, when your thoughts are going crazy, you can't let that continue. You got to stop it somehow, because otherwise it's just a cycle that just constantly is going to be revolving in your head. That's going to make you go crazy.
I think the best way to really deal with anxiety is to talk about it, especially when you're going through that fight or flight mode.
Facts.
I'm sure Hollywood, you probably talk to China and vice versa. I do the same thing with my lady. Like the minute I start feeling it coming on, I'll be like, man, babe, I'm kind of feeling that anxiety feeling, and then when I start tripping, I'll just tell her how I'm feeling, and that kind of helps me too. But I mean, throughout the years, I've really learned how to just, because everybody's got like trigger words, I feel too, like some people do, I think, like, somebody will say something and then you go back into your mind, you don't know that you're doing it, but you go back into your mind over what causes your anxiety, and then you start tripping, and the biggest thing is like, you'll hear me talk about my story a lot more now, is because I've realized the more you tell your story and the more you talk about your story, it doesn't affect you mentally anymore, because now it's wide open. It's an open discussion now. It's not private. It's not being held in. So the biggest key, I think, for everyone to do is I know as men, especially, we hate talking about our feelings and all that. Most men, anyway. Me, we all know me. I don't care, but talk about it. Talk to your significant other. Hey, call your brother up. Hey, brother, man, I'm going through it right now. I'm tripping. Blah blah blah.
I gotta say thanks SNS for for putting all our channels down and stuff.
Yes, thank you,
China-
SMS.
China, you've been going through it a lot.
Yeah. Well, I love being the only female in here, though.
Well, a lot of females do suffer.
Well, a lot
from
of them,
this.
a lot of them do, and a lot of them like to keep it quiet. But me, I'm more of an open book. I mean, there's still a lot of stuff people don't know about me because it's on a need to know basis, and they don't need to know.
Of course.
Facts.
Because I suffer from PTSD. I'm bipolar. I've got panic, anxiety, severe depression. I'm the local pharmacy.
Man, Hollywood, she's got to be awesome in bed.
I'm the pharmacy without the pharmacy because I don't want medication to put me someplace different.
Yeah.
I don't take anything. I take one pill every night before I go to bed, which is supposed to be helping with my sleep. And it's supposed to help with the depression, but I think it only helps with the sleep. And I mean, everybody has their own way of dealing with things. I'm watching the comments and what everybody's putting on how they deal with it. Anxiety to me, I was so terrible with Hollywood when he started with his anxiety. I would tell him all the time, it's all in his freaking head. But when you have your first panic attack, I looked at him and said, I am so sorry.
That is the biggest, that's probably the biggest thing, the worst thing you could possibly say to someone going through that stage is when you go, it's all in your head. Oh man,
and it's not. Once you've been there and had your first panic attack or had your first anxiety attack, or
you're like, whoa, this is out of my control right now. Like this is so crazy. Yeah.
I mean, I thought I was dying. Hollywood had to take me to the hospital. I literally thought I was dying. And I still apologize to him every day about telling him what I did years ago. And I regret it. I 100% regret ever saying
I think a big part of it too is like when you're in a relationship and your significant other has, anxiety and depression and these things, is if you really care about the person, do a little research. Google some stuff and learn about it a little bit. That's the only reason why I know what I know, besides going through it myself, is because I was with a woman for 8 years, as we all know, and while I was with her, she suffered from all these things that whole time. And I was the same way as China Doll. I'm like, get out of your mind, man. It's not the worst thing to ever say. Snap yourself out of it. Like that makes you just want to hit somebody, right?
Yeah. And the worst is when they always come up to you and go, "What's wrong? What's wrong?"
Yeah. I know something's wrong.
Yeah. So that makes you trip more. It triggers you like, oh man, there is something wrong.
The worst part of that though is when somebody comes up to you and asks you, because Hollywood does it to me. I'll be like, I don't know. I really don't. Like sometimes you just don't know.
You don't. Yeah.
When you're in your depressive stage or you're like possibly on the cusp of like having anxiety, you don't have an answer.
No.
You don't know
You're
what's wrong.
You're right.
No, all the time.
You really can't answer the question. It's like, so my thing is I look at him and go, I'm fine. Nothing's wrong.
Well, one
That's
thing.
what my old lady does. And I'm like, just tell me. And then
But
we can
sometimes you
communicate.
can't. But sometimes you
I
can't.
know. She
No.
she'll
You know
lock up.
what I'm getting at? You know what I'm getting out of all this is that women are actually more private when it comes to this situation than men are.
Maybe.
And I think it's because we're such wussies, because let's be honest, every time we catch a cold, we're going to die. You know what I'm saying?
That part
like,
is
it's
true.
fact. I just coughed. I had to blow my nose. Babe, I'm going to die. I love you. You know what I mean?
I will take the flu. I will take losing a leg over the flu. Bro, I took that better. Then when I get a cold, dude, I'm stuck in the bed. I want you to feed me. I want a bowl of soup and some hot tea, please.
Yes, and a head rub, please. Rub my head. Rub my head, babe.
Right here.
Rub my head.
A lot of people are saying that, yeah, definitely the biggest thing is talking. But when you talk, the question is the person you're talking to actually listening, Hollywood?
You know, it's
And vice versa, okay?
I
I
Hey,
listen.
yeah.
Because
Look at how you were before, China. So you can't get mad at him. He's paying you back right now.
karma, karma. There
What
You
really
know
is.
he's vindictive. I know for a fact he's vindictive.
one thing that I learned, because mine started in 2005, and back then we didn't have all this openness. And I think the guys can agree that, especially the ones that were on the streets, it was a sign of weakness. And that goes through your head, where now it's more
Yeah.
open. And a lot of the guys in the clubs and stuff like that, they wouldn't talk about it, but they were going through it.
Yep.
But that's something that people have to put out of their minds, because you know what, the old timers, they didn't have the Lexapro, the Prozac. They had the local bar to get their stuff
Some
And a
whiskey.
joint.
Some whiskey, and
Yeah.
if you participated in some 420.
But when I first started happening with me, it was so damn bad. There was an incident in 2000 where I was coming home with a buddy of mine, Ronnie Littell. We were coming back from this casino throwing dice, and we were driving by this pond, and don't know how the hell it happened, but two girls in the car were in the middle of the pond. We had to go out there. They took me under. I almost freaking
Whoa.
died. And I think everything from that incident and in the past, in the 90s, of some stuff that went down, it finally caught up to me. But at that time, I closed myself off to everybody,
Mhm.
because I wasn't gonna be looked upon as weak or any of that. So I'm so glad these times have changed, where we can actually talk about it.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's also another reason
Definitely.
why I definitely wear shorts every single day. I do not wear pants. Like even when
Well,
I
you live in
ride and everything.
California.
Yes,
Dirk.
because of California weather. Yes.
Yeah.
But I do that on purpose, and it's also another reminder. Like when we're talking on the subject of drinking and driving and drinking and all that stuff, of crazy stuff, incidences, I'm the prime example of a drunk driver. You know what I mean? A victim. You
Yep.
know, you replay my whole incident a million times over, I'm dead a million times over. So, very lucky I'm still here today, but this is why this has happened. So let's be real about it. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And so that's why on anybody, friends, family, anybody I care about, even if I didn't care about that person, I'd probably pull them out if I saw them trying to hop into a car while they're drunk. You know what I mean? It's just, at this point, I cannot stand that, you know?
No.
And it's not like I hold a grudge or anything towards the person that hurt me or anything like that, because I don't. But it does definitely make me have a feeling when we go, dude, there is so many options to get home sober, with not only with your friends, Ubers, you name it, you can figure out a way home nowadays. Like back in the 90s and the 80s was probably a whole different deal. You know what I mean?
Shush up.
I was barely born. You know what I mean? So it's a whole
You're
different time frame.
baby.
We
But-
just picked who
but
was the
there
most
is-
sober. We're all drunk, but it's like, all right, who's the most soberest drunk here?
Yeah, who's
Okay,
the
you're
most
driving.
sober drunk?
How
God,
far-
like you guys didn't have the luxury of being able to just tap on your phone and go, I can get home with $8 on Uber. Boom.
Yep.
How
Well-
far do you guys think society has come to accepting mental health as a real problem in this country?
Accept it, really. I don't think there's a lot of people that still accept it.
You don't.
No, I don't either.
People,
I
I do think, see it themselves because they suffer it with themselves. But then when it comes down to politics, like we were talking about at the beginning, absolutely not. There's, for instance, the homeless issue. That issue is definitely a mental illness issue, drug issue, blah, blah, blah. those are the type of things that we should be taking care of and cleaning up our own people, our vets, our streets, our everything. And look at LA, Skid Row, look at all that. It's just getting worse and worse and just getting more and more packed. And I walk down there. I'll go down there and it's just like, dude, this is crazy. It's gnarly. So it's just getting worse and worse.
I think it's a lot more acceptable than it once was, for sure. But the mental health problem in America and the mental health system
The mental health
is
system
just,
is crap.
oh,
Mhm.
dude, it is so horrible, man. I remember my ex,
Yeah.
she had, I'm just going to say she had a problem that we had to deal with. And I was helping her deal with this problem. And she was supposed to be seeing a psychologist, and she didn't have no money at the time. We're both having some hard times. So she had to go, through the state to try to get help. And it was such a joke. They literally gave her an appointment that was like 4 months away. And I just yanked the phone out of her hand and I'm like, listen, lady, this girl is having a mental problem right now. She might not be here in 4 months. How could you give her a date for 4 months? I get that you're busy. I get that, there's a waiting list. I totally understand that, but that's the freaking problem. Why don't we have more people available for people? It's the mental health system is just like
No,
to
you're
sum
very
it up,
right.
it sucks. Like China said, it's
No,
horrible.
the thing is you got to think, okay, benefit wise, when like how you just said state, benefits and stuff like that when you needed it. Well, I'm in the position of needing it, right? So I needed it for the last 2 years. Now, thank God I've been able to keep my head on my own shoulders and I've kept myself surrounded by amazing people. But it wasn't until what's today, the 2nd?
Yeah.
I got approved yesterday, the 1st, finally, for some actual coverage of like dental and medical. But these are the bare minimum. Now, mind you, to this day, I've been denied. This is how messed up the whole system is, not just this, all of it. Me personally, I've gone through something like what I have. I've been denied state disability 13 times. I've been denied my unemployment that I'm rightfully due, that because it's in another state, because they never filed from their state headquarters to the California Department of Tax or whatever. They never actually reported my wages to the state of California, rather, and I paid my state taxes every 2 weeks. So I'm paying all this tax, but I'm making zero income in California. So they're going, we can't help you. All your stuff is over in a different across the country. And I'm like, no, that's and that money is worth nothing. So on top of that, I've been denied disability, denied all of the medical insurance, all this stuff, all the way up to now. We're leading up to, and I had to lawyer up, and I'm still fighting the case. I'm still fighting the case to this moment to get SSDI, state Social Security Disability Insurance.
Well, with that, Mike, the stuff you're going through, that your girlfriend went through, your ex, Danny, and what you did, China Doll, and the problems that we're having in this country right now with homelessness, they're not taking care of our vets. What are your thoughts? I'll go around on this one, China Doll, about the United States giving billions upon billions upon billions of dollars to Ukraine and other countries when they can't even freaking help our own people.
That's the problem. Stay in your lane, stay in the United States, keep the money here, and help the vets, the mentally ill, help those that need it in the country you are supposed to be running. Let them deal with their own thing. Why you always got to get involved in other people's business? You got to help the people here that need it. And it doesn't seem like anybody's going to.
Amen.
It won't, if they do that, how is it going to actually help them in any regard? If they help the society out and their people are less dependent on them, there's less of a job for them.
Yep.
So let's just think of supply and demand of people. People are just supply and demand, and they want to keep us as dumb and as needy as possible.
I want to I want to answer that, John, and I'm going to answer it very bluntly. I think if you just tax the highest wage earners appropriately, they would offset any money we provide to Ukraine. Now, again, I'm going to answer that one. There is only 10% in this country that actually pay any taxes. 90% of people in this country do not pay taxes. They usually get a refund at the end of the year. And when I hear that, I think it infuriates me because I got to write a check every month to the IRS. And that is a talking point that they'll always throw up. Oh, let's tax the rich, tax the rich. Well, in reality, they're the only ones paying for the damn taxes because everybody else gets their refund.
Yeah, no, I never got a refund like that. Like when I
I
was
think a
working
lot
for
of it
decade
is
like that, I never got a refund. I always owed. I was making well over six figures, and I'm owing 5, 6, 10 grand at a time.
well,
Like, how do I owe when I already paid you like literally 47% of my wages?
yep.
That's crazy.
The point is, you know, I know people are saying, well, I get a little bit back. At least you get something back. Where most pay, you know, Mike, you just said it, where we're paying the bill. And middle
We're
class
fronting
is
it.
rich, and everybody says tax the rich. Well, how the hell are you going to go to work? They're the ones who provide the jobs.
Mhm.
What do you think of that
That's
argument,
a
Danny?
personally, I think that's the problem is what people don't understand is the trickle down effect. If you tax the wealthy and the rich, who do you think they're going to punish for that? Us. Reason being is now when we go to the grocery store right now, like China Doll said, for 4 bags of groceries that used to cost about 60, $70 is now $150 to $200. That's the exact reason why, because of certain tariffs and stuff like that. So that's not, I mean, it's a good idea. Don't get me wrong, John, but it's not the way to fix it. The biggest problem that to go full circle, I guess, to close out with it or whatever, is Donald Trump. Like we were talking earlier, that was the biggest thing that our government didn't like about our, President Trump, was that he wanted everything to stay here. See, something that people don't realize is in other countries, we are the terrorists because we just show up and take over and say, "Oh, we want to give them freedom." Oh, really? Is that truly what you're giving them? No, it's not. You're just taxing them more, you know. And it's sad when you think about it, man. And that was the biggest problem with Trump, for people that didn't like him, was that he wanted everything to stay here. And yeah, it definitely infuriates me when we're sending all this money to Ukraine, and it's like, has Ukraine ever sent us a couple of dollars? Like, did they do anything for us? Like, why are we even,
Has anybody sent us any couple dollars?
ever? Yeah, ever.
Have we? I think we're always
Yeah.
the guys handing out the loans.
Yeah, when the World Trade Center, got crashed into by the planes and that whole terrorist attack and everything.
And everyone claims that is a terrorist attack around the world. They call it that. And
who sent us money for that to help build it back or to fix things or anything? Nobody.
Right.
This whole thing where, well, we're America, we set the standards. The standards of what? If we're setting the standards, man, the standards are pretty freaking low. Just saying.
Right. Hey, Marco's Motorcycle Nation's in the chat room. Let me know how everything sounds, Marco. I appreciate you coming out, setting up the audio for me in China Doll. But I think Danny nailed it straight on, especially when it came to the NATO budget and all that stuff where Trump pay your fair share. You're supposed to be paying, what it was, 2 or 3% of your GDP in order to provide for your own defense. And at some point, you get tired of seeing your hard-earned dollars go over there. And it's like, well, you got our representatives don't work for us. They don't.
No, they don't.
And with Trump, they're terrified because he is truly an America first type of guy, where everybody used to say, well, he's going to start nuclear war, blah, blah, blah. And it never happened. No wars, nothing happened.
Yeah, he was the one that actually shook hands with people that wanted to go to war with us.
Exactly.
And let's be realistic. I don't care if you like the guy or not, but every country around the world was definitely afraid of us while Trump was in office. Now they're laughing at us because we have another Democrat, and this one is. I'm not going to make fun of, this is one thing I got to point out. And I'm clearly not a Democrat or Republican, but I'm definitely not a Dem. I got to point this out that I find it sad that people make fun of Biden as far as not being able to remember things and talking crazy and stuff. It's clearly that he's old. It's clearly that he's at a mental state of mind where there's things happening in his mind and that he can't control. And we're all going to get to that point sooner or later in our lives if we're lucky. And I don't feel it's cool to trash talk him as far as, this guy's stupid, look at the way he talks and all that. It's like it's pretty clear that he's probably dealing with dementia of some sort or just being very old. I'm sorry, what?
Problem with that is,
Alzheimer's.
problem with
Yeah,
that is
Alzheimer's.
he has his finger right on the nuclear button.
Well, yeah, obviously he's not competent to run our country. I mean, that's not even an argument. But I don't know. I feel like we shouldn't be making fun of the guy for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't feel comfortable doing it personally. Maybe, I don't like talking bad about our president, period. I don't like him. I don't like anything he stands for, but he's still our president, and we should give him some sort of respect, because if we don't, then we look like a pretty messed up country, even more messed up than what we already look like.
You should respect the position, not the person.
Yeah,
necessarily.
exactly. Yeah, basically.
No, I get that. And the thing is a lot of people are focused way too much on the top end of stuff. They're too focused on, let's say, Trump and this and that and the other, when honestly, no one's going to their local governments.
Exactly.
That's where you're going to see change. And where you're going to see real change and real, like if you guys band together, you get like 10, 15 people just to go walk to City Hall or whatever and talk to these like people. They're people. You can walk into their offices. You know what I mean? You can just walk right in, you call them, make an appointment, go right in, talk to them. All of a sudden you're going, whoa, like they can't believe you're talking to them,
Yep.
But you need to make that change. And we need to make more of those calls ourselves and really focus on the lower end when we want our communities to change. And like I said, we are too focused on the top end. I feel like for the most of the nation is too focused on that.
Yep, I agree. I think people don't realize is the president of the United States, literally, he's nobody. He really is. He's a complete nobody. He's just the face of our country is all he is. He's a stamp and nothing more and nothing less. Who runs the country is the wealthy people who run the big corps and the big businesses, our Congress. And let's be honest. I mean, the wealth wealthy are the ones who control the whole thing behind the scenes anyway. We've known that forever. So, I mean, the president, and that goes back to what we were saying earlier, the president, whoever the person may be, they can go up and promise us the world, but it's all a lie. It's starting off with a lie because they're not going to be able to do anything unless Congress is okay with it. So I mean, that's a trickle down effect, man. If you start talking about it, start breaking it down, man, it's like, none of these people mean anything.
Policies. They don't even look at policies anymore. They're not going like, oh, I like them because of this policy, or I don't like them because of this policy. They can't even name them. They're just like, oh, I don't like him.
Is he blue? Okay, I like him. He's red? Okay, I like him.
Exactly.
It's like, what's he stand for? I don't know.
Facts.
Well, we're going over an hour and 10 here, and I think this was an awesome first episode of the BCAN podcast.
Yes, sir.
Say our finals. Danny, we'll start with you.
Finals for what? I'm going to be like China now. What?
Huh?
What's going on? What are you talking about?
I
just want to say, everybody that's watching and listening, thank you for attending our first episode of Beat Can podcast. I appreciate you all. Love and respect. I will be throwing a video up hopefully this week for you guys that are watching on my channel. I know you guys are used to me dropping a video on Sunday, but obviously we were doing this, so I couldn't drop one. So thanks for watching. I hope everybody enjoyed it. And as always, keep it real and keep it 100.
I love it. Hey guys, I seriously want to thank you guys, every single one of you guys, for listening and hearing all of our thoughts and getting our perspectives on things. We definitely all come from little bit of different backgrounds, different traumatic events, different things that have happened in our lives. So we definitely have a different perspective. I think we all do as a community. For you guys, Beat Can is something different. It's bikers exploring anything they can. That's what that means. So if you guys have, that's what that means. We're going above and beyond the box. We're going to be talking heavily into the things that either is in the mainstream media, hot topics, and or things that, most people probably wouldn't talk about, such as anxiety, depression, i.e. this episode.
Yeah.
We're live, William, every Sunday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We got a ton of platforms. The podcast is going to get up after 2 or 3 episodes, I think, they'll let me upload. But China, go for it.
Well, since everybody seems to be so political, and I am so not, I'm just going to speak on the fact that I'm glad everybody was here listening and watching, and me with these 3 stooges. I love all these guys. And I just hope if you suffer from panic, anxiety, depression, whatever, that you seek the help you need, whether or not it's talking to a close friend.
Rock on, crowd. Rock on. Tomorrow, I want to thank Marco from Marco's Motorcycle Nation for hooking up the studio today. We'll be on tomorrow for Madhouse Monday Night Raw at 7 p.m. Central. You're really going to like that. And of course, Mondays through Fridays with China Doll in the morning, 8 o'clock or 8:15 Central Standard Time. But appreciate everybody. You guys rock. We'll actually have an intro and outro next time. We were so
that's on you, Mike.
Done, but
it's coming.
You
Poor
all,
Mike. He's dealing with everything now.
Everybody,
you're so good at everything, bro.
Everybody wants to know, since Sunday is Easter Sunday, are we still going to have a show?
Oh,
I'll be here. I don't know about you. I got nothing to do.
I'm here. I'm here. So
I can't make any promises, but most likely I will be.
We'll talk throughout the week, guys.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
absolutely.
We'll check you out later. Rock on, baby.